Hey guys, it's your friendly neighbourhood EDDBUD, back with another initial shoe review. Today up on the test blocks we've got the Adidas Boston 9. There's two reasons why I'm super excited about the review of this shoe. One, I finally managed to get it in hand. It seems like it's been ages since I first set eyes on the Boston Marathon version of the shoe several months ago. And two, it's a pink men's shoe. You really don't get very many of those, so really glad to add this one to the collection. A brief overview of the shoe and some stats for you. 21.5mm in the heel and 9.5mm in the forefoot, making for a 9.5mm drop, a micro fit stretch upper. In fairness, it does feel quite similar to the upper on the SL20. A relatively low stack height here, again similar to that in the SL20, but a combination of boost in the midsole and Adidas's lighter Lightstrike. In fact, it's the polar opposite to what you see on the Takumi Sen 6, where you've got Lightstrike in the rear part of the shoe and then boost up front. That torsion system from Adidas, which seems to have been around for donkey's years, is here in the midfoot to prevent too much instability and twist. I think the weight's pretty easy to stomach. This one's 273 grams in my UK size 11.5. Yes, I have gone up a half size again. With Adidas shoes, I feel I just need a little extra length. Enough stats. So today's run was 8 miles, that's 12.9 kilometers if you like those conversions. An average pace of 7 minutes 16 seconds per mile, that's 4 minutes 31 per kilometer. Gotta say, I did initially set out to do some sort of tempo type run, around about 7 minutes 30, but these felt real good. And when a shoe feels that good, you just can't hold back. So I did part of my typical 10-mile route today. I did set out a little later than I originally had envisaged getting out for my run today. I was trying to avoid some very humid showers that we've been having over the course of the day. So let's hit it with the review. First with the upper. I think this is classed as signal pink. We got some white sections on there, and also there's like a copper type colour with the actual name of the shoe around the heel cup there. I think it really does stand out. I've got to say, out of all of the Adidas shoes I've looked at, and probably all the other shoes I've looked at over the course of the last year, this is probably the most pleasing in terms of aesthetics. What a shoe. I just love the profile of it. It does look absolutely fantastic. Well done, Adidas. I think there's some nods to the Takumi Sen 6 here, and also the SL20 as well. In fact, I think you can probably pick out any Adidas running shoe and spot little hints of design features and functionality there. It's kind of all built into this shoe. The mesh upper here is a little more substantial than that found on the Takumi Sen 6. I think it's a little bit more in line with the SL20 upper. So that tongue on the Boston 9 is a little more padded than you'll find in the SL20 or the Takumi Sen 6. I did find after the run that the shoe had taken on a fair bit of weight from the water and the moisture. There was about 10 or 12 grams extra in the shoe at the end of the run, so probably been soaked up in that tongue there. That tongue is gusseted, although it's gusseted a little further down than you normally find in a running shoe. It certainly hugs the foot, although there was a bit of an issue I found with the tongue. You'll probably see in a couple of the shots the tongue had actually started to slip down over the course of the run. Not sure how I'm going to combat that yet. There's a heel counter present here. I had no problems really in terms of heel slippage, just using a standard knot rather than a runner's knot. Didn't see there was any real advantage to using a runner's knot here. No problems in terms of the shoes lockdown whatsoever. I found this to be one of the most comfortable Adidas shoes I've tried out of recent time. It's a type of shoe that you can see yourself wearing for a much longer period of time than perhaps the Takumi Sen or the SL20. A little bit plusher, a little bit more comfortable than those other offerings. Perhaps my narrow feet, I did find the upper actually a little bit too generous. I know Tim Gross has had similar issues with the upper on his Boston 9s also. We've both got quite narrow feet. I think that could be the issue there. I think if you have a slightly wider foot, perhaps a little bit more volume to your foot, that won't be a problem for you. You may say, Ed, could you have gone down half a size? Would that have solved the issue? I don't think it would. That would have been too short for me then in terms of length of the shoe. Maybe I can utilise those ventilation holes throughout the centre of the tongue there to circumvent the tongue slipping problem. It wasn't a big issue though. It wasn't like it felt uncomfortable, but just something I observed. So comfortable, slight tongue issue, a little bit of bunching of the tongue down here where it's fixed to the rest of the upper, but a very comfortable shoe overall. I'm going to give this 2.5 out of 3 for upper after my initial run. Midsole now. So on observing and examining the midsole on the Boston 9, it's very clear that the boost actually stretches pretty much all the way to the front of the shoe. I kind of thought it was going to be mainly Lightstrike here. There is some, but it does appear to be only at the very front section of the shoe, right underneath the ends of your toes. You can actually feel with your fingers that the front section there's a little tougher, and of course you can feel where the boost is actually there. It just squashes in a little bit more. It's almost like the Lightstrike's been used as a cage here to give some added stability in response to the boost. On foot, guys, I had a really exhilarating and exciting experience today in the Boston 9. This very nimble shoe allowed me to push my turnover, and certainly the last 3 miles I just got faster and faster. Or maybe it was the promise of some porridge and a nice hot cup of coffee when I got home. I love that porridge, little honey. I'm hungry again. Average cadence today of 170 steps per minute. Mr. Burmaster, I was very astute today to try and ensure that my arm swing was constantly there throughout the run, though I think you may have pushed me over the edge. I may opt for one of those pods very soon. Either that or I'll attach my watch to my leg. You need some sort of strange, larger, like band or something to do that. That'd be weird, wouldn't it? If you had to lift your leg up every time you wanted to tell the time. I spent about 75% of the run today in that tempo pace zone, so very happy with that. One thing to consider here is where the midsole kind of creeps in around the arch area. It is quite high in terms of the arch, so if you've got a flatter foot, that might cause you a little bit of discomfort. My arch is relatively high though, and it fitted me like a glove. A foot glove. That's what you are, you're a foot glove. The Boston 9 certainly felt responsive for me today. Great at those faster paces. I got up around 6 minutes 40 on the final mile. I was really hungry. And when I eased back on some easier parts of the run, certainly in the warm-up, the boost in the rear of the shoe was certainly a little bit more noticeable and quite enjoyable. I think there's a bit of a sweet spot for this shoe, around about 7 minutes to 7 minutes 20 per mile. I felt really smooth in the gait cycle then, and I was rewarded with really engaged ankle landing. I just had, everything was flowing really nicely. It's like when you're playing with the band and all the levels are just right and everything's just moving forward like a freight train. Although I probably look more like a monster truck moving along. Not really a freight train, I'm not small, I'm up there. Quite exhilarating and enjoyable today. Glad to have a boost midsole shoe back in the rotation, but this time it felt nimble and it felt fast underfoot. I think Adidas have pretty much got the combination between Lightstrike and boost spot on in this shoe. I can see this one sticking around in my rotation for a long time to come. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2.8 out of 3. Only pulling off a couple of points there due to the fact a few people might find that this shoe doesn't quite have enough cushion for them in the midfoot. For me, chef kiss stuff. Continental. Continental rubber here. You know I love it. This stuff gives Nike a lesson in grip. It's somewhat malleable actually, very much like a tyre that you'd find on a Formula 1 car. Adidas really got it on point this time. On roads it felt very secure. Gravel paths, it gripped the surface and really helps on toe off actually. It's kind of like slats, a little bit like you'd find in a bed. Handled some wet surfaces too. It's been chucking it down since I did that summer running gear update. We know that the Continental rubber compound is very durable over time. One thing I do find a little strange though, there's quite a lot of the rubber here that's recessed. That's probably not making any contact at all with the ground. So that would be my only suggestion. Do we really need all of the rubber that's there? I've got no major worries on the outsole of the Boston 9, and as such I'm going to give this one a 2.8 out of 3 after my initial run. We've got to talk value now. At a retail price of £119 for this one, it does fall into an interesting category. The boost and Lightstrike materials used in the midsole of this one do give the shoe some real versatility, and weight wise at around about 273 grams, they are on the lighter side, but with a more resilient, longer lasting cushion. I found the cushion just about right today, across the length of the foot, and I can see this being a great option for faster paced, longer runs. Perhaps even tempo efforts, or I would suggest you can race in this shoe too. I think some runners out there might wish for a little bit more cushion in that midsole, certainly in the midfoot area. You do feel quite low to the ground, there's quite a lot of ground feel there. I mean, I enjoyed that, but not every runner is going to seek that type of ground feel. As such, for those runners, they may want to head towards the Endorphin Speed. It's perhaps a better option, but a more expensive option too. I'd say bizarrely, this shoe feels a little bit like the Pegasus Turbo 2. It's got some of that Pegasus Turbo DNA in there, certainly. Though I would say that the Boost will provide some cushion beyond the Turbo 2's Zoom X and React Sandwich can deliver. That used to bottom out for me around about 10 miles. I think this one will go much further than that. I think £119 is actually pretty good value. It's a well put together shoe, feels like a quality shoe, and it certainly looks the part too. I think there's some Billy Ocean vibes in this one. When the going gets tough, the Boston 9 is your shoe. If you need to get across that long distance, £119 is a price you're willing to pay. These pink shoes really deliver in the Adidas old-fashioned way. When the running gets tough, Boston 9. I think it's a little more versatile than the Hyperion Tempo, which is a little bit more expensive. And it's certainly cheaper than that Endorphin Speed. Much cheaper than the Turbo 2. Certainly comes with my recommendation, this one. Fantastic first run. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 3 for value. A real versatile shoe. And you know I like that. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on the Boston 9 down in the comments. A musical interlude. I've been digging back into the catalogue of Roy Orbison, and I pulled this one out by the Travelling Wilburys. Their first album's fantastic. Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, Bob Dylan, George Harrison, and of course, Roy Orbison. What a fantastic super group that was. Probably never see the likes of that again. I really love Handle With Care and Last Night as well. Great tunes. But there's not a duff track on here. Into the Light's good as well. Just wholesome musicianship, some great guitar sounds, brilliant singing. I mean, Orbison sounds dynamite on this record. So do go and check that one out. Travelling Wilburys. Thanks for sticking with us till the very end of the video, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this initial review of the Adidas Boston 9. I certainly have. Been after that shoe for a long time and it did not disappoint. If you haven't done so already, I'd much appreciate if you'd hit that subscribe button and click the bell for notifications of when we launch the new videos. It helps the channel out a huge amount if you give this video a thumbs up like and share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD and I'll be seeing you.